What's up, the squad? It's Cess, your favorite Auntie and Uncle Tendencies, and welcome back to Cess Talk Sports BY's Poly Sports Tea Time, where we don't sugarcoat, we stir the pot. You tuned in to the CBA Reckoning, and this right here, this episode 2, the economic plantation inside the WNBA's rigged revenue model. Let me say that one more time. The economic plantation inside the WNBA's rigged revenue model. We said what we said. Now let's set the scene. The ratings, sky high. The merch, flying like it's tax-free. The bag, $2.2 billion, locked in with that new media rights deal. But here's what they don't want you to ask. Where's the money for the players? Not in their base pay, not in their bonuses, not in equity, not in ownership seats, not even in the damn email thread. They get hashtags. They get flowers. They get told, just wait, your time is coming. Let me be 1,000% clear. When the league is booming, but the labor is still broke, that ain't growth. That's exploitation with a pressure. That's not a league evolving. That's a plantation economy and Nikes. This episode, we peeling all the way back the layers on how the WNBA's revenue model is built to profit off Black women's labor while locking them out the boardroom. We asking hard questions. Why don't WNBA players have access to basketball-related income like the men do? Why hasn't a clear revenue share model been implemented, even with the league surging in popularity and cash flow? And why are Black women, the engine, the culture, the face, still sidelined when it's time to talk ownership, investment, and generational wealth? See, when the players are the product, the profit, and the promotion, but never the partners, that ain't a league. That's a rigged system dressed up in "We see you, Queen" slogans. So if you think this is just about money, nah. This is about labor justice, economic transparency, and the right to own the value you create. Now, y'all know I ain't pulling up to this convo alone. Rolling with me, as always, is my partner in the fight, the policy powerhouse herself, Political Lil from the BY Poly Sports Podcast. Let's get into it, fam. Let's talk about this basketball-related blockade in the dub the lies we've been sold, and what real equity gonna take.
Oh, yeah. Let's break down the financial ghost in the room, BRI, or basketball-related income. This is the money players in the NBA fight for, organize around, and legally protect through their CBA. Ticket sales, merch, TV deals, sponsorship, concession, streaming rights, even area signage. All of that gets rolled into BRI. And the NBA players, thanks to their union and leverage, get a guaranteed cut. Right now, NBA players are entitled to 50% of BRI. That's not a bonus. That's their share of the business they help build. But in the WNBA, that system doesn't exist. There's no formalized BRI category, no fixed percentage tied to the league's revenue, no guaranteed financial transparency between ownership and labor. In other words, players generate the value, but they don't get the key to the vault.
That's the whole hustle right there, Lil. What we got is a league built on the backs of players, but with zero shared reward structure. And let's not sugarcoat it. It's not by accident. That's the design. Because the second you introduce a formal BRI model, basketball-related income, you admitting out loud that these women deserve a real seat at the financial table. And that truth, that power shift, it makes a whole lot of folks in high places real uncomfortable, especially when the faces demanding their fair cut of the pie are Black women. You can't push empowerment into marketing and run a plantation in the back office. You can't sell out arenas on the strip to these women's talent and then lock them out the room where the money counted. No, BRI means players got no visibility, no transparency, no voice in the deal room. While billion-dollar media contracts get inked behind closed doors, the labor that built the buzz is left in the dark. And here's the foulest part. There's no playoff bonus structure, no all-star incentives, no jersey sale revenue, nothing tied to the growth or performance. I was sad sitting up there watching the stud buzz and Courtney Williams say she got $3,000 to go to the finals. $3,000, fam? Man, all they got is just a flat salary and a thank you for your service. That's not a league investing in its stars. That's a system built to profit off the glow without ever sharing the shine.
Exactly. This ain't just about financial oversight. It's a power strategy. Because when you deny BRI, you're not just denying players a cut of the money, you're denying them leverage. And leverage is how labor makes change. This is why you hear the WNBPA saying the system is unsustainable. because you can't grow a league off players' excellence and then act like that excellence ain't worth accounting for in the books. And let's be clear, these aren't players asking for favors. They're asking for what they're owed.
And really sit with the precedent that sets. Young players step into the league and what do they see? No pathway to equity, no financial transparency, no shot at ownership. That don't just kill morale, it kills vision. It tells every rookie, every future star, you can hoop your heart out, but don't expect to sit at the table you feed. How you gonna build loyalty when the system built like a revolving door? We keep calling this a league, but the operation moving like a glorified temp agency. Use the talent, pay them just enough, keep the book sealed. That ain't partnership. That ain't progress. Until BRI is written into that CBA in black ink, this thing stays rigged, period. Rigged to deny black women full access to the wealth they generate. Rigged to gatekeep ownership while these women put the league on their backs. And let's not water it down. That's not just bad business. That's economic suppression, point blank.
All right, let's cut through the PR smoke and get into the contract. Because for all the talk of growth and partnership, the current CBA is not the revolutionary deal the league wants you to believe it is. There is no 50-50 revenue split like in the NBA. Let me say that again for the folks in the back. There is no 50-50 revenue split. What the WNBA offers instead is a performance-based system tied to revenue benchmark, vague thresholds that must be hit before any kind of bonuses can even be considered. And who set them benchmarks? You guessed it, the league. But here's the kicker. The players in their union, the WBPA, don't even have formal access to real-time financials. They aren't provided with transparent BRI data. They're essentially being asked to believe the league when it says, hey, we didn't hit the mark this year, maybe next season. It's like showing up to work, putting in the hours, but having your paycheck determined by a scoreboard you're not allowed to see. Most of the league's biggest income streams, media right deals, jersey sponsorships, streaming partnerships, are controlled either by the WNBA front office or the NBA itself. The players generate the product, but the profit is filtered and funneled through layers of institutional control that have no legal obligation to share fairly. That's not revenue sharing, that's revenue blocking. And don't just take our word for it. Our research tells us straight up, the revenue sharing league is performative. It's not a partnership. It's a payout system dressed in legalese. That quote hit hard because that's the game, giving the appearance of equity while keeping the players locked out of any actual financial leverage. It looks good on paper, but it doesn't pay on payday. What this really shows is that the current CBA is structured to delay, defer, and dilute revenue, not to democratize it. The power sits with the league. The information sits with the owners, and the labor force, made up largely of black women, is stuck playing in a system that pretends to be inclusive while operating like a closed shop. And the deeper we go, the more we'll see how that power dynamic is protected, not challenged by the fine print.
Let's be crystal clear. This league wasn't built in a boardroom, wasn't crafted by branding execs in the Manhattan Tower. This league was built by black women, period. Game after game, era after era. From Lisa Leslie and Cheryl Swoops to Sylvia Fowles and Asia Wilson. Black women have been the backbone on the dub. They've been the scorers, the shot blockers, the MVPs, the culture carriers, the ones who filled the seats when nobody else believed. They kept the league alive during its lean years and still carried it with grace, grit, and greatness. But when it comes to the real seats, the ones with ownership, equity, and generational wealth tied to them, they stay locked out. And what we're watching unfold now, a playbook as old as America itself. Black labor creates the value, white capital comes in and takes control. Now that the league is finally turning the corner, sponsorships booming, media deals breaking records, the face of the dub is being rebranded. Suddenly the energy is shifted. The new investors, white, male, tech money. The leadership pipeline, still overwhelmingly white. And the players who built this thing, still just renting the league they birthed. Let's not play dumb. Ownership is power. Equity is legacy. And the WNBA structure, designed to deny both. You look at the NBA, retired players slide into coaching gigs, front offices, even ownership. In the W, that door barely exists. There's no clear path for players to buy in, build wealth, or invest in the game's future. And don't tell me that's oversight. That's structural. That's strategic. Black women gave this league their talent, their time, their activism, their visibility. But when it comes to the payout, the profit, the power, it gets funneled into boardrooms they can't even get invited to. What we're really seeing here is the difference between contribution and control. Black players have always been allowed to contribute, drop 40, show up in the clutch, lead the movement. But control, nah. They don't get to shape the narrative. They don't get a cut of the revenue, and they damn sure don't get offered equity. And that right there, that's why this new CBA matters. It's not just about bumping the salary. It's about shifting the power dynamic. Because if we don't bake equity into the bones of this league right now, all this momentum we're celebrating, it'll be used to push Black women out, not bring them in. So the question ain't just how do we grow the dub, it's who gets to own what's growing. This is about flipping the script from a league that uses Black labor to one that respects it enough to share ownership. And Black players been screaming this for decades. We built this. We deserve more than a check. We deserve a stake.
And let's go deeper now, because this isn't just about sports economics. It's about America design. The system the WNBA operates under, it's not broken. It's functioning exactly as it was built, to extract value from workers while shielding ownership from accountability. That's not a mistake. That's capitalism, baby. And the WNBA has just slapped a progressive label on an old exploitative model. At the legal core, players are acting as independent contractors, not true co-owners in the league they carry. That's a crucial distinction. It means that they have no stake in the financial decision-making, no legal entitlement to profit sharing, and very little leverage when negotiations stall. In a league that markets empowerment, they remain locked out of the actual empowerment by law. Let's keep it all the way real this way. This model mimics every major historical labor suppression system we've seen in this country, from post-slavery sharecropping era to domestic work exclusion in President Roosevelt's New Deal labor protections, the gig economy loopholes of today. Black labor has always been systemically disempowered under the illusion of inclusion. The WNBA's current structure fits the same pattern. Celebrate the labor, isolate the power, use collective identity as branding, but not as a vehicle for shared wealth.
Exactly. Let's stop dressing it up. This is economic gatekeeping, straight up, wrapped in feel-good Title IX language and equality. But when you peel back the layers, it's control, it's restriction, it's suppression. Players are told to be visible, be marketable, be inspiring. But don't you dare be demanding. You're going to be empowered. And whatever you do, don't you ask about no ownership. Because the second they speak up, the media spins it like clockwork. She's ungrateful. Here she go causing drama. She hurting the brand. But let's be real. This ain't new. These are the same tactics that have always been used to shut down Black labor movements. Reframe legit demands as disruption. Bury the players in legal language and vague clauses. Then flip their cultural value into corporate profit with zero cut to the ones who built it. And don't hit me with that the NBA is different excuse. The NBA didn't become $1 billion brand because execs were feeling generous. It happened because the NBPA fought like hell for BRI, for guaranteed contracts, for real bargaining power. Nothing was handed to them. They took it through lockouts, through lawsuits, through a union that refused to be ignored. Now, WNBA players are in the same fight, but their battlefield is even more complex because they're not just navigating labor politics. They're navigating race, gender, and a media ecosystem that only sees them as marketable when they're quiet. What we're watching is the commodification of Black women's brilliance. Their talent is celebrated. Their image is sold. Their leadership is quoted in campaigns. But when it comes to compensation and control, crickets. The legal structure of the dub, it ain't broken. It was built to do exactly this. So now it ain't enough to say we support women's sports. We got to ask which women are profiting and which ones are just performing for the camera, the campaign, the cause, while the money moves behind their backs.
And let's break this down plain and simple. Access to BRI is the difference between being labor and being leveraged. In the NBA, players aren't just negotiating over salaries. They're co-architects of the business model. Why? Because they secured access to BRI and entitled to 50% of it. That's not just a paycheck. It's a share of the ecosystem they helped build. BRI in the NBA covers nearly everything: ticket sales, national and local broadcast deals, league and team sponsorship, merchandise, licensing, digital media rights, you name it. It's not just what happens on the court. It's what happens when the game what the game generates off the court. That's how power works in a capitalistic structure. If you help create it, you should get a claim or the cut of it. But the WNBA players are kept in the dark. There's no formal BRI pool. There is no guaranteed percentage tied to the league's revenue streams. And to make matters worse, the data players do receive is limited, delayed, or aggregated, meaning you don't get to see the full picture. They're essentially being asked to negotiate over a pie that they're not allowed to see. And that's not a negotiation. That's a plantation system with a marketing team.
Exactly, Lil. Let's call it what it is. Strategic silence. Because when players don't have access to the numbers, they can't negotiate from a place of power. They out here bargaining blind. And that ain't an oversight. That's the setup. The league maintains control by controlling the information. Because the moment these players see what the real revenue looks like, they can organize, they can demand, they can disrupt. And that's the threat the system don't want to face. This ain't just about bumping the salary floor. It's about controlling the profit pipeline. Look at the Dubs' biggest assets, the viral moments, the jersey sales, the all-star performances. That's black women driving the engine. But they're not getting a real slice of what they built. What they are getting is performance bonuses, clout campaigns, and recycled empowerment branding meant to look like equity. But don't touch the bottom line. Meanwhile, in NBA, revenue goes up, player income follows. But in the WNBA, revenue goes up, and the players get told to be patient again. Be patient while the money moves without you. And that's why BRI ain't just a business model conversation. It's a labor justice conversation. Because if you're the one laying the bricks, hanging the drywall, and painting the damn walls, then you don't just deserve a thank you card. You deserve the deed.
And here's what folks need to remember. Equity is access. Transparency is leverage. And right now, the players, the labor, the talent, the culture have neither. You can't run commercials about empowerment while running a closed financial system behind the scenes. If the WNBA wants to claim the mantle of progressive sports, it's time to open them books and cut them checks. Now let's talk about the silence behind the scenes, the secrecy that maintains control. Because at the heart of the CBA standoff is one brutal truth. The WNBA refuses to open its books. Players are asked to trust that a league is doing its best, to believe that revenues are still developing, and to accept that their share will come eventually. But there's no transparency, no audits, no detailed revenue disclosures tied to licensing, media deals, or sponsorship growth. Meanwhile, league executive, NBA stakeholders, and private equity investors have full access. They know how the numbers are moving. They have the balance sheets. They see the contracts, and they make decisions with long-term data in hand. The players, they're locked out of the information. They're told, just focus on basketball. We got the business part. But here's the problem. When one group holds the information, they also hold the power. That's not a partnership. It's economic bondage.
Right. And this is where we got to talk about corporate paternalism. That unspoken messaging that whispers, we got this. Just trust us. Don't worry your pretty little head about the numbers. That's not care. That's control. It's the same top-down structure we've seen in every major labor suppression system in American history. Whether it was the factory floor, the fields, or now the front office, the formula don't change. This ain't protection. This is economic patriarchy. This is the company store model with a fresh coat of empowerment paint. The league sets the wage, owns your likeness and brand, writes the rules, keeps the books closed. And you're told to be grateful for the scraps while they cash out on the recipe you created. You can't challenge the system when they never even handed you the blueprint. And let's keep it real. The same logic that kept sharecroppers guessing cotton weights is what's keeping hoopers guessing about media deals. And don't forget, this imbalance is always framed like a favor. You got charter flights now. Attendance is up. You part of history. Okay, but where's the financial transparency? Because without it, all this progress is just performance. It's a photo op, a moment, a headline. But when the lights go down, black women are still sitting at the table. They sat with no plate, no knife, and no slice. They help bake the pie and still got a bag for crumbs.
Ooh, right. That's it right there. But secrecy isn't just about the numbers. It's about reinforcing dependency. The players remain reliant on the league for information, access, and opportunity. And that dependency, that's how power stays lopsided. If this is truly a new era for women's sports, then the era needs to be built on equity, not secrecy. Because in 2025, if you're still telling Black women athletes, just be patient while billionaires get full dashboards and quarterly growth reports, you're not running a league, you're managing a plantation. And let's talk about what's really keeping this system locked in secrecy. Because when players ask for a seat at the economic table, they're not just asking for higher salaries or charter flights. They're asking for the truth. They're asking to see the numbers, but the league keeps the books closed. No clear breakdown on media revenue, no real-time sponsorship data, no transparent record of where the money flows or how much of it is being hoarded behind executive doors. And while the players are told to trust the process, private equity firm and league executives have full access. They know exactly how much money is coming in and where it's coming from. They make calculated investments. They can assess risks. They can make moves. The players, they're working in a system where they're expected to show up, perform, and smile, but not ask questions. Let's call this what it is. Economic bondage through institutional secrecy. And that secrecy isn't accidental, it's strategic.
And let's not act like this is brand new, because it's not. This idea that players should be grateful and stay in their lane, that's straight out the corporate paternalism playbook. It's the same tired formula. We got you. Let leadership handle it. Don't rock the boat. Just play ball. You saw Cadillac records. It's just like they just keep buying you a Cadillac every time you cut a new record. It's the belief that people in power know what's best. And as long as the labor stays quiet, compliant, and unorganized, they'll be taken care of. But that ain't care. That's containment. That's control. And let's be real. That same logic got used on the plantations and the factories. Think about Muddy. Muddy went to go get that money. That man saying, man, you got a new Cadillac, Muddy. What you talking about? And all throughout the union busting days of the 20th century, Black labor has always been told to wait, to be patient, to let the grown folks handle the money while they keep building the house. And now the WNBA is running that same game, just dressed up in high heels and hashtags and highlight reels. See, they'll praise the players, especially the Black and brown women, as the face of the league. But when it's time to talk equity, when it's time to see the books, ain't no access, no answers, no ownership. They ain't getting your call. Text didn't come through. You can't advocate for justice when they hiding the truth. You can't negotiate your value when you locked out the numbers. And that's the point. Because the less you know, the easier it is to keep you disempowered. And as long as they keep these women in the dark, out the group chat, they can keep making money off their shine without ever cutting them in on the deal.
And here's what we need folks to understand. This ain't protection. It's economic patriarchy. The same logic that keeps sharecropper guessing about cotton weights is keeping hoopers guessing about TV deals. That quote, that's not a mic drop. It's a map. Because this system isn't just disrespectful. It's designed to extract while appearing progressive. You can slap equity on a press release, but if your books are closed and your power structures are rigged, then all you've done is reinvent the plantation in a new package. All right, now, we've talked about power. We've talked about secrecy. But let's get into the legal teeth, because some of this ain't just unethical. It's potentially illegal. Let's start with antitrust laws. The WNBA operates under a tight structure that looks a lot like a controlled monopoly. One league, one set of centralized rules, and one employer per player. That kind of setup would be a red flag in any other industry. The question is, are they using that structure to suppress market value for athletes? And if so, is that a violation of antitrust protection meant to ensure a competitive labor market? And let's not forget, players don't have other legitimate domestic pro options. There's no real free market competition for their talent. That gives the league enormous control and very little incentive to improve player compensation or bargaining access. That's monopoly behavior, even if it's wrapped in a league of progress.
All right, fam, let's go deeper. Because this ain't just about economics. This is about civil rights. If 70% of your workforce is Black and brown women, and they're the ones systematically underpaid, locked out of equity, and kept from financial transparency, then we're not just talking about a business model. We are firmly in Title VII territory. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act says it loud. You can't discriminate based on race or gender when it comes to wages. And sure, the league will hit us with that technicality. Everyone's on the same pay scale. But let's be real. Impact matters more than intention. Because if the system is built in a way where black women keep ending up at the bottom, no matter how hard they grind or how bright they shine, that's structural bias. That's disparate impact. And the legal system should be asking real questions. Who's being harmed? Who's being excluded? Who's being asked to carry the brand while being denied a cut at the back end? And then we got to talk about labor law too. The National Labor Relations Act protects workers' right to collectively bargain in good faith. How can you bargain in good faith when management's got the books under lock and key and players are left negotiating off vibes and promises? They offer conditional incentives, drop a few buzzwords about growth and visibility, but can't show you where the actual money is. It's not a negotiation, that's a performance. And as one labor expert told us, if this were a Fortune 500 company and 70% of the lowest paid workers were black women while the board refused to disclose finances, it would be a federal case. And that line says it all. Because if it would be a lawsuit in corporate America, why is it still business as usual in the dub?
So here's the question. Why hasn't it become one? Why aren't we treating this league like a labor and civil rights case? The civil rights case that it is. Because what's happening in the WNBA isn't just a sports issue. It's a national workplace issue. It's what happens when a growing industry uses progressive branding to shield itself from the kind of scrutiny that would have federal regulators knocking on its doors in any other sector. The players deserve better, not just morally, but legally. And if the league keeps hiding behind trust the process, then it's time to ask if the process is even lawful or just cleverly disguised exploitation. Now, before anybody tries to argue that the WNBA structure is just part of the growing pains, let's be clear, this ain't new. The playbook being used on these athletes, especially black women, is old, worn, dusted off from every era, but talent has been commodified and power hoarded behind closed doors. Let's start with the sharecropping economy. After slavery, black laborers were promised land, autonomy, and self-sufficiency. But instead, they got rigged ledgers, dishonored debt, and zero access to the books. No matter how much cotton they pick, they somehow owe more at the end of the season than they did at the start. Sound familiar? In the WNBA, players drive ratings, sell jerseys, and lead in scoring charts. When it comes time for the share in the revenue, they're told the league just isn't there yet. Then let's talk Hollywood in the 1930s, golden era of fame and financial bondage. Actors was locked into studio contracts for years. No control over scripts, no residuals, no equity in the films they made global. That's the same system WNBA players are now locked into a rigid contract, keep them from licensing deals, and sold as symbols of empowerment while ownership gets rich off their backs.
And now fast forward to today's so-called gig economy. Uber drivers, app developers, delivery workers. They're all tagged as independent contractors, free on paper, but in reality, no equity, no protection, no seat at the corporate table. Sound familiar? It should, because WNBA players are facing that same setup. No access to the real data, no stake in the league's growth, just labor packaged and sold as flexibility and opportunity. The W is out here balancing the books on black women's backs while denying them the tools to build legacy. Every time the league pushes empowerment without delivering ownership, it's not just a missed opportunity, it's a page out of a long, ugly tradition. Exploit the talent, control the books, protect the brand at all costs. This is bigger than merch drops and charter flights. This is about who gets to profit from the product and who just gets to put on the poster. Because if all you're giving is labor, and you're never giving a path to ownership, that ain't empowerment. That's modern day exploitation dressed in performance gear.
So when folks act like this labor fight is brand new or complicated, just know it's neither. It's intentional, historical, and profitable for everyone except the women doing the work. This isn't about punishing the W for growing. It's about demanding that its growth model doesn't mirror the same racialized, genderized power structures we've seen in every other industry. The WNBA isn't an exception. It's just a modern version of an old game. Exploit the talent, control the books, and sell empowerment while denying power. Let's stop pretending it's revolutionary to underpay black women with better lighting. That's not justice. That's just a new coat of paint on the same plantation logic.
Lil, if you don't own it, they'll use you to sell it. And that's the bitter truth, fam. The WNBA is stacking millions, soon to be billions, off the backs of black and brown women. It's the stars, the ones selling out arenas, breaking records, giving us viral moments, driving merch, and locking in media deals. They're the engine, they're the movement, they're the brand. But guess what? They don't own a single stake in the machine they built. Their faces get used to sell the product. Their stories fuel every campaign. But when it comes time to cash in, they don't have a seat at the table where the real wealth is being created. And that's the problem. You can be the face, you can be the voice, you can even be the damn culture. But if you don't own any of it, you're just a tool in somebody else's business plan. The league and its investors, they get to celebrate growth and momentum. They cash in on media rights, they scale the brand, they build wealth. Meanwhile, players get modest raises, performance bonuses, and a couple extra perks that sound nice in a press release, but still don't touch their true value. But let me be real. It's never just about money. It's about power. It's about legacy. Ownership ain't just equity. It's decision-making power. It's shaping the future, not just reacting to it. It's controlling how your image is used. It's saying how revenue is split. It's having a voice in how the league grows. Without ownership, players are stuck in a cycle of visibility without agency. They front the campaigns, but don't control the checks. They carry the movement, but don't steer the ship. They help build the house. They ain't got no keys. And while the league rebrands, repackages, and pivots to chase new markets, the players are still asking for a piece of the very pie they bake. It's past time to stop calling this empowerment when it's really exploitation in new fun. That ain't visibility. It's a visibility trap.
And let's land this where it matters. This isn't just a story about who gets paid what. It's a story about who gets to see the books, who gets to speak in the boardroom, and who keeps getting told to be patient while power moves happen behind closed doors. You can't call it progress if the foundation is secrecy. And when the foundation of the league is built on black women's brilliance, but the system is designed to shut them out of ownership, out of profit sharing, and out of strategy, then what we're witnessing isn't just imbalance, it's economic suppression in real time. This ain't just about bigger slices of the pie. It's about knowing who baked it, who's hiding it, and who's keeping the recipe locked up. So if you care about equity, justice, and the future of the WNBA, remember this. Real progress means real ownership. It's about rewriting the rules so black and brown women athletes don't just play the game, they lead it. Because without that, this isn't evolution. It's exploitation dressed in sports gear.
Let's keep it a buck. This ain't just about getting a bigger slice of the pie. It's about knowing who baked it, who's hiding it, and who's keeping the recipe locked up. Transparency ain't a favor, it's a demand. Ownership ain't a buzzword, it's the battleground. In the future of women's basketball, it cannot and will not be built damn day. WNBA out here acting like they got the recipe to bush baked beans. This right here, this CBA reckoning, it ain't just about contracts. It's about culture. It's about labor. It's about liberation. Because until players have real access, real power, and real equity, we're not watching growth. We're watching a glamorized hustle with the diversity filter slapped on it. Now, next time, we taking this even deeper. We spilling the tea on CBA Reckoning episode 3, Unrivaled, the uprising against the WNBA status quo. And let me tell you, fam, this is bigger than basketball. This is about labor autonomy, economic justice, and the dawn of a new playbook where players ain't just athletes, they the architects. Because while the WNBA is still out here dodging transparency, nickel and diamond black and brown women stars, and clinging to ownership models from the Stone Age, a movement is rising. And that movement is called Unrivaled. So, fam, run this up. Like, share, drop a comment, and hit the subscribe button for the Cess Talk Sports BY's Polysports Tea Time podcast. Send this to your crew, your group chat, your homegirl who knows the game, and your uncle who thinks he does. And always remember, sports ain't ever just about the games athletes play. It's about who controls the game. Y'all stay ready. Y'all stay tuned. Talk soon. We out.